Some moments in history stay hidden in old photographs, quietly holding on to memories the world nearly forgot. When you look closely at these faint images, the light and shadows whisper stories of time, both good and bad. But the amazing stories? They're in the genuine shots, the ones taken when photographers weren't chasing the perfect moment or trying to impress history books. Those accidental clicks, that's when the camera really caught life being messy, real, and unforgettable. Here are the 15 rare and unknown historical photos that will surprise you. Number 15. The Defiance of Lepa Radic. She was 17, too young to vote, too young to legally drive, but apparently not too young to be hanged by the Nazis. Lepa Radic stood under the noose on February 8, 1943, her country under siege and her youth stolen by war. They asked her to betray her comrades. She didn't flinch. Her answer cut sharper than any blade of katana. "You will know them when they come to avenge me." Let that sink in. Those were her final words. A teenage girl facing death with more courage than most grown men manage in a lifetime. This wasn't just a photograph. It was a quiet scream, frozen in time, defying tyranny. The uniformed men in that image believed they were silencing a threat, but what they did was immortalize resistance. Lepa didn't just die for freedom. She stared her executioners in the eye and left them with a prophecy. History may not shout her name in every classroom, but this photo refuses to let her be forgotten. Number 14. A native man and his wolf. The bond between this native man and his wolf isn't posed. It's personal. It's not a myth. It's memory. This photograph catches a moment that colonial history tried hard to erase. The truth that many native tribes lived in deep, respectful kinship with wolves. These dudes keep them not as pets, not as trophies, but as kindred spirits. While settlers spun tales of snarling beasts in the night, indigenous cultures saw teachers, guides, and companions. The man in this photo doesn't try to control the animal. He walks beside it. No leash, no fear, just trust. And that trust speaks volumes about how different the relationship with nature used to be before fear was weaponized to justify violence, extermination, and conquest. Wolves were hunted, just like the people who walked with them. This image isn't about nostalgia. It's about remembrance, about seeing the world through a different lens, one that doesn't separate humanity from the wild, but recognizes a connection that runs deeper than language. But some people call it a dog. What do you say? Number 13. The Tragedy of James Bulger. This photo looks like nothing. A toddler walking with another child. It could have been a mall. It could have been anywhere. But this is the final image of 2-year-old James Bulger, taken moments before he was led to his death. Two 10-year-old boys kidnapped him, tortured him in ways too brutal for most people to stomach, and left his small, broken body on a railway track. It's the kind of crime that doesn't just shock, it corrodes something in you. The image doesn't scream horror. That's what makes it worse. It's quiet, familiar, innocent, at first glance. That's what hurts. You realize evil doesn't always wear a mask. Sometimes, it looks like a child. There's no cinematic justice in this story, just grief. The photo has become a ghost, haunting an entire generation with the question, how could something like this happen? And worse, how did the world let it happen at the hands of two boys who weren't old enough to understand death, but somehow knew how to cause it? Number 12. J.P. Morgan and Lya Graff. In the middle of polished shoes and tailored suits stands Lya Graff, no taller than a child, no older than 30. A circus performer. A woman with dwarfism. A curiosity about the world she lived in. And in this photo, J.P. Morgan, towering, smug, rich beyond reason, rests his hand on her as if she's an accessory, not a person. The moment went viral long before Facebook or Instagram existed. Lya became an overnight sensation, photographed, gawked at, and passed around like a novelty. But fame is cruel. She fled the spotlight, returning home to Germany just in time for something far darker, Nazi rule. Her Jewish identity marked her for death. She was arrested, sent to Auschwitz, and never seen again. This photo captures more than a strange encounter. It captures the machinery of spectacle, the ease with which we turn people into objects, and how even fame can't protect you when the world decides you're less than human. Number 11. The Last Dive of Tina Watson. It looks like a serene underwater photo, a woman diving, a splash of blue, the world silent and suspended. But that speck in the background, that's her, Tina Watson. Her husband had just turned off her air supply, held her down, and watched as she drowned. This wasn't an accident. It was a calculated, cold murder, and the ocean kept the secret until this photo surfaced. The most chilling part isn't what you see, but what you know. He came up calmly and told other divers she was struggling. By the time they reached her, it was too late. The man served only 12 months for manslaughter, then walked free, shielded by legal loopholes and jurisdictional standoffs. But this image lingers, not just because of what it shows, but because of what it hides. It's a photo of trust betrayed, of silence used as a weapon. It's a reminder that monsters don't always look like monsters. Sometimes they wear wedding rings and scuba gear. Number 10. Laughing at Auschwitz. The photo looks harmless at first. A sunny afternoon, women laughing over bowls of blueberries. A man plays the accordion. Off to the side, a group of men pass drinks and jokes. It could be a family picnic. Could be summer camp. Well, except it's not. These are SS guards and staff from Auschwitz, captured on their day off. Less than a mile away, people were being starved, tortured, and burned. And here they are, smiling. The album, later named Laughing at Auschwitz, didn't surface to shock. It surfaced to remind me, evil doesn't always wear blood. Sometimes it grins. This isn't just a contrast, it's a punch in the gut. It makes you wonder how the same people who laughed with blueberries between their teeth could gas children hours later, or if they even saw a difference. The horror wasn't just in the camp, it lived in the normalcy around it. That's what chills you most. The joy was real, so was the silence. Number 9. The girl who was never held, Jeannie. She wasn't born a myth, she was made one. Jeannie, that's what the world called her, but no one ever told her real name, not even after rescue. Her father believed human contact would ruin her, so from infancy to age 13, she was locked in a room, strapped to a potty chair facing a blank wall. No books, no words, no hugs, just silence and walls. When authorities found her, she couldn't speak, could barely walk. She didn't cry like other kids, didn't respond to faces. She didn't know what love looked like. Scientists rushed in, thinking they'd study the forbidden experiment, what happens to language without human contact. But she wasn't a case study. She was a girl. And after the attention faded, she was shuffled between foster homes, forgotten all over again. Her face, soft and confused in that first photo, stays burned in the mind. Not because of what you see, but because of everything she was never given. Number 8. Jewish prisoners freed from a death train. They don't smile. Their faces don't show relief. Just blankness, hollow stares, and shivering bones wrapped in rags. This photo, taken in 1945, shows Jewish prisoners moments after liberation from a Nazi death train. But there's no celebration, no arms lifted in joy, because what do you feel when you've been reduced to a number? When your body is more skeleton than skin, freedom comes late when you've lost your whole family, your name, your voice. The train didn't just move bodies. It carried trauma that words can't begin to hold. Some of them never spoke again. Others rebuilt lives quietly, never mentioning the camps. This photo is a snapshot of survival, but it doesn't feel victorious. It feels suspended, like time broke down and the people inside the frame are still waiting for food, for sleep, for someone to say it's really over. But for many, it never was. This image holds more than history. It holds everything that silence tries to bury. Number 7. Milkman. During the London Blitz, the rubble says war, burned out buildings, smoke drifts like ghosts through the streets. And in the middle of it, he walks, calm, straight-backed, carrying bottles of milk like it's just another Tuesday. This image is famous now, often titled, "Keep Calm and Carry On," but it wasn't some lucky shot, it was staged. Fred Morley, a frustrated war photographer, couldn't get his real pics published because the government feared it would kill morale. So he borrowed a milkman's outfit, grabbed his assistant, and asked nearby firemen to walk through the destruction. It was a message, not a moment crafted to remind people they were still standing. But even in its staging, the image hits hard, because that's exactly what people did during the Blitz. They showed up, delivered milk, drank tea, buried the dead, rebuilt. Whether real or not, the spirit it captured was, that stubborn refusal to fall apart became a symbol. Not of British pride, but of ordinary people doing their jobs through hell. Number 6. Inuk man teaching a boy to shoot. No fancy gear, no protective vests or neon training tools, just a bow, an arrow, and ice that stretches out like a second sky. The older man holds nothing back, not in expression, not instance. He's showing the boy how to aim, how to steady his breath, how to survive. Because in the Arctic, you don't teach kids to hunt for fun. You teach them because if they can't hit a target, they don't eat. The boy doesn't look afraid. He looks focused, almost grown already. This photo doesn't beg for attention. It just quietly captures an entire way of life. A culture where strength is passed down not by books or speeches, but by standing shoulder to shoulder, arrow to arrow. These aren't people surviving despite the cold. They're surviving with it. You can almost feel the air biting your skin, almost hear the silence between wind gusts. This image doesn't just show instructions, it shows legacy etched in frozen breath and iron focus. All right, now let's look at number 5. Easter eggs for Hitler. 2 black soldiers pose with a pair of artillery shells, each personalized with a message for Hitler. It's Easter. They smile for the camera, but it's not just bravado, it's defiance. At home, they couldn't sit at the same lunch counters as the men they fought beside, couldn't drink from the same fountains. Some weren't even allowed to train with white units. And yet, here they were, frontline, risking their lives for a country that still debated whether they were equals. These shells weren't just explosives, they were statements. You forgot about us, but we didn't forget about you. While Time magazine praised the enemy POWs held comfortably in American towns, soldiers like these were sleeping in tents, digging trenches, building roads, and shooting straight. They weren't celebrated, not then. They fought because it was their war too, because freedom wasn't supposed to be color-coded. The photograph didn't go viral. It didn't need to. It's loud enough in silence, echoing everything America tried to overlook. Number 4. David Isom breaks the color line. On a sweltering day in June 1958, 19-year-old David Isom walked into a public swimming pool in Florida, a pool labeled whites only. He didn't shout, didn't carry a sign. He just got in the water. That simple act cracked the surface of America's segregation, and within hours the pool was drained and shut down by city officials. This wasn't a peaceful integration story. It was a warning shot, because even water-free shared elemental wasn't allowed to mix across color lines. The ripples of David's decision went far beyond that one pool. It mirrored a nation where neighborhoods were designed to exclude, where buses were split by skin tone, and where people like him had to fight for the right to be ordinary. What makes this image so bold isn't David's expression or the setting, it's how calmly he chose to resist. No words, just presence. He stepped into history without asking for permission, and in doing so, he reminded the nation that justice often starts with one person refusing to stay dry. Number 3. The girl in the middle. 3 figures sit still in a faded photograph. A man, a woman, and a child placed between them. Her face is the clearest, unnervingly still, eyes gently closed, head tilted like she's resting. But she isn't asleep, she's gone. This image is what the Victorians called memento mori, a way to remember the dead when photographs were rare and death was common. The child, already dressed, positioned, and propped, was their daughter. Most likely, this was the only photo the family would ever have of her. That's why she's not blurry. In early photography, the movement made ghosts of the living, but the dead, they held still. It seems disturbing now, but at the time, this wasn't eerie. It was love preserved in stillness. A final act of closeness. A chance to hold on to what couldn't be held. Look again, and it's not macabre. It's heartbreak, framed. A moment where grief and memory blur, frozen not to horrify but to ensure she wasn't forgotten. Number 2. The Man Who Never Came Back. John Edward Jones didn't go cave diving for glory. He was just visiting home and just wanted to relive a family tradition, spelunking through Nutty Putty Cave in Utah. But one wrong turn put him in a passage barely wide enough for his shoulders. He got stuck, upside down, nearly 400 feet underground. Hours passed. Rescuers tried everything. Pulleys, anchors, even attempting to drill around him. At one point, they managed to lift him slightly, but then the rope snapped. He slid back in, wedged tighter. Oxygen dwindled. Blood rushed to his head. Conversations with rescuers turned to silence. Eventually, John died in the darkness, alone, unreachable. The state later sealed the cave with concrete, leaving his body where it lay. His diagram, now shared widely, isn't just a map. It's a reminder of the terrifying fragility of life and the horrifying power of tight spaces. The story makes your chest ache, because it wasn't recklessness, it was routine. That's what makes it unbearable. He never meant to die there. Number 1. The Crew That Never Left the Ground. At first, it looks like something out of a space camp brochure. Astronauts in silver training suits floating beside a capsule in a pool, weightless and calm. But this isn't just another photo of astronauts being awesome. This was the Apollo 1 crew. And while this wasn't the exact capsule they died in, the photo still stings. Inside a test spacecraft on January 27, 1967, a spark from a faulty switch ignited the pure oxygen atmosphere. Within seconds, the fire turned the cabin into an oven. The inward opening hatch sealed their fate, trapping them in a burning steel box they couldn't escape. NASA's obsession with pressure-sealed design and rapid deadlines left no room for human error or mercy. Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee were gone before the countdown even started. What's unsettling about the photo isn't what it shows, it's what it doesn't. They trained like they were going to the moon, but they never even made it off the ground. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.